Thad Brown joined by AJ Feldman. It is that time again, Friday before an NFL playoff weekend. Let's try and make you some money. AJ is our resident gambling expert at News 8. And of course, we got to start with the Bills. Bills and Chiefs. AJ, right now the Bills are favored by 3. What you take, I'm sorry, are underdogs by 3. What's your take on the line? And you were just telling me there's some inside info that, normally wouldn't be that big a deal, but actually might turn out to be a pretty big key this weekend.
Are you referring to the line movement?
Yes.
Yes, the line is coming to 3.5. On the Action Network, which is a great sports gambling information site. Right now, as we speak, Friday night, they track 9 sports books. 5 of them already have them at 3.5. So it is coming to 3.5. It seems like obviously with the news that Patrick Mahomes is definitely good to go. That kept it at 3, the indecision there. So by the time you watch this, there is a decent chance. In fact, I probably think there'll be a good chance that this line has moved all the way to 3.5, which is only half a point, but is clearly very important, which is why I feel even more confident in taking the Bills plus 3.5 for the AFC Championship game.
For the amateur gambler who might not be, thinking or understanding why a half point makes such a difference, because of the way NFL scores work, there are so many ways to end up with a 3-point margin. And especially, a game that goes to overtime has an excellent chance of finishing with a 3-point margin. So if you go from 3 to 3.5, now instead of a potential push, you've got an opportunity for the losing team to win, with that extra half point. So it makes a huge difference. And I totally agree. I think the Bills are going to win this game, but if I'm getting 3 plus the hook, boy, that seems like I'm almost stealing money right now.
Yeah, 3 points is the most common margin of victory in the NFL. So when we talk about, the important numbers, 3 is the most important number. And to get even a little more inside baseball for you, basically, whenever you're gambling, you usually have the option to buy a point or buy half of a point. So say the line is at, 6 and you want to make it 6.5, you can buy that for maybe an extra $10 where instead of, betting $10 to win 9, you're betting $10 to win 8 or etc. You have to bet a lot more to get that number off of 3 because it's so valuable, that 3-point line. Because as you mentioned, overtime, just a field goal margin at the end is just a very common number to get on. So getting that 3.5 is very important. So you want to wait until you get that. If not, you're really not going to lose too much value if it just keeps at 3. And just back to the game, like you said, the Bills, they've been playing really strong throughout the second half of the season. Kansas City has not been covering at all this year. They're winning their games. They've only lost one game they've tried to win all season long, but they actually have a losing record against the spread this season so far. And I believe they would be the first team or one of 2 teams in, I believe, the last 20 or so years to win the Super Bowl without having a winning record against the spread. I'll have to get that exact number, but it is very rare for a team this bad against the spread to go this late into the season.
Do you know what their record is right now off the top of your head against the spread?
I believe it was 7-9 in the
Okay.
regular season.
Okay.
So
And they probably did not cover against the Browns either,
they
right?
did not cover against the Browns. No, that line was between 10 and 8, and they won by 6, I
5.
believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.
22-17. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the total. I think I saw it open somewhere in the range of 54. Where are we at right now? What'd you take there?
Yeah, right now we're at 54.5. Right now I'm leaning towards the under right now. I don't have a great feel on it, but both teams, they went under in the first round. Obviously, Mahomes getting injured against the Browns certainly had something to do with that. But the Bills offense hasn't, been its usual explosiveness. And I think just the coaching matchup in both of these games, these coaches know each other well. They already played each other in the regular season. So I think just that familiarity is going to kind of turn into, kind of a slug match where, they're not really, going off for haymakers. They're just kind of, feeling each other out for a long time. I feel like it's going to be that kind of a game. Certainly you could see it going the other way with these great offenses, but I could see like a 24-21 type of thing, which isn't exactly low scoring, but, clears the under by about 10 points.
Yeah, I think you got a good point there. This definitely feels like a game where, like you said, 2 coaches that know each other. You don't open up, by showing all your cards. You play conservative. Keep yourself in the game too. I think there's another part of this. I think both teams look at the other offense and think, if we don't show up ready, it'll be 21-0 before we even stop breathing, and then we're done. So I think you got a good point there. If I had to bet, I would bet the over. I got 34-31 as a final, but I can certainly understand the underplay in this one.
Yeah, it's like you said, these offenses are, they're great offenses, and the defenses certainly. So you could definitely see this being, and the weather probably isn't going to be too much of a factor. Maybe some warm or cold rain, but it shouldn't be too bad, is what we're hearing so far.
All right. Well, one part of this discussion every week is that we get into some of the prop bets, and I think people only see or think of prop bets as a Super Bowl thing, but no, no, no. You can bet on these every single week of the year, and especially in the AFC Championship. So, what are you looking at? What are you eyeing as good plays this weekend for the Bills and the Chiefs?
Right now, I've been betting it all playoffs long, and you can bet it, since October, and it's basically been a winner. It's the Stephon Diggs over. Right now, it's still at 94.5 yards, which he has done that in both of his games so far this season. I'm going to look down at my notes here. He has last week 106 yards, over half of the team's total receiving yards throughout the season. His last 5 full games, he is averaging over 130 yards. So you just can't stop Stephon Diggs so far. No defense has been able to do that. The Ravens secondary is much stronger than this Chiefs secondary, and they couldn't do it. So I like Diggs. Gabriel Davis, questionable, really doesn't have too much effect on, Diggs' production, but certainly one less person in Josh Allen's arsenal that he's really comfortable with. So you could see maybe just like 1 or 2 targets going Diggs' way, which could be all the difference.
How about one of your favorites, or one of the things you like to bet a lot, which is the over/under on the longest touchdown of the game? You got a spot? You got a shot for this one as well?
I do. I love this one again this week. I loved it last time when they played in the regular season. I love it again. The over/under for the longest touchdown is 44.5. I have the under. So I think that there will not be a touchdown of over 40 or 45 yards or over this entire season long. Looking at some of the numbers, I mentioned this in the Colts game, but both offenses, they don't really go for the big play, even though they score a lot of points. The Bills' first team offense has just 2 of those touchdowns this entire season. The Chiefs have just 3, so that's 5 total for these great offenses. It seems like a strangely low number, but it's not. And then the thing you really worry about with this type of bet, like you saw last week against the Ravens, is the defensive touchdown, the special teams touchdown. And these teams, great quarterbacks, great special teams, they don't give up those touchdowns. The Bills are one of only 3 teams this entire season to give up 0 special teams or defensive touchdowns. The Chiefs only did that one time all season long. That was against the Ravens, that kick return touchdown in the first half there. So when you think about defensive special teams touchdowns, it's more about them giving up than a team converting them in the most part. So both of these, quarterbacks, they take care of the football fairly well. The special teams units don't really give up big plays. So I like that as well. The under on 44.5 for the longest touchdown.
Now, if you're not going to bet the Bills game at home, there's only one other choice this week, and that is the NFC Championship between the Bucks and the Packers. Maybe the old man quarterback bowl part 2, not quite Tom Brady, Drew Brees, but Aaron Rodgers is no spring chicken. What's your read and maybe any insight on the NFC game this weekend?
I really like the Packers in this game. It's just the line is at 3.5 right now for Green Bay at home at Lambeau. Cold conditions. Tom Brady with his frail bones going into Lambeau. The Packers, they seem kind of like, if in the AFC, if the Bills are the team of destiny, it seems like the Packers are that team. They have just been rolling through this season. It seems like the cards are aligning for Aaron Rodgers to finally get back to a Super Bowl. It seems strange that he's only made 1 in his career. It seems like this is the year. Over the last 7 games, the Packers have won every one of those by 8 points this season. So they're really finding their groove late in the season. The Buccaneers, I don't think the Saints are very good, and I think the Buccaneers really should have taken more care of them than they did. Drew Brees had a lot of turnovers, and they, almost had to pick 6, and there was all these things going right for the Buccaneers. But when you look up at the score, it wasn't the dominating game that you think that it should have been. Whereas, the Packers, they beat the Rams, who might have the best defense in the league this year. They beat them by 2 scores. So I really like the Packers in that spot.
Sounds good. Hope we helped you make some money. I know that some of this advice is going to be part of my weekend fun. AJ, as always, thanks for helping us out.
Yep, and we've got more picks. So, I guess you're probably reading this in the column. So just scroll down a little bit more. We have some more picks for you, too.
Yeah, if you didn't enjoy the video enough, there's definitely the written version and more, like you said, like AJ said, advice for you. So enjoy the games this weekend. AJ, thanks for joining us.